If there's a constant in this world, it's that the world is trying to kill you. Adventure calls on us to be prepared, and gear tends to fall chief among those preparations. It defines the limits of our exploration and dictates the duration of our expeditions. On one extreme, Sir Ernest Shackleton leads a crew of 27 intrepid souls into the Arctic. On the other, you might observe me trying to coax my stubby lemon beagle 15 yards to the mailbox. Both different durations, both different objectives. Time and distance are the greatest factors in assembling the perfect pack. The less time you're in the field, the greater the latitude we have. A small pack is the right pack. Develop your outdoor skills so that you don't have to carry a big pack. The more skills you have, the fewer things you need to carry. Using a pack that's unnecessarily large will only encourage you to pack your fears. Let's pause for a moment to discuss the idea of packing your fears. I'll use fire as an example, since that seems to be a near universal point to which people lose their collective minds. For some reason, when people venture out into the woods, their imagination always seems to wind up in a situation where they're stranded and need to make a fire. The scenario isn't implausible, but less probable than you'd be inclined to think. But because we're convinced that a fire will be necessary for our basic survival, it isn't uncommon to find multiple methods of fire starters, most commonly the ferro rod and striker. I'm going to hurt a lot of feelings here, but I don't really care, and you need to listen up. That's one of the worst methods available for you to start a fire. It's heavy equipment and it's difficult to use, especially if you haven't practiced this. A Bic lighter is far more reliable. I've never known one to fail. Sure, you can run them dry, but if you're that worried, carry two. There's an abused saying. It goes, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. That's absolute garbage. It's recycled from yesteryear when materials and production were lacking. Don't fall into that line of thinking. Anything can fail, of course, but knowing how to work around failure is better than packing alternative backups. Will someone with you know how to start a fire with a ferro rod if you can't? Probably not, but I bet they know how to use a Bic. Be prepared is the Boy Scout motto, and it's a good one. It isn't be equipped, because you simply can't be equipped for every circumstance. Here's some advice. Skills weigh nothing, and pack small in your head. Maybe be skilled would have been an even better motto. Here's another thought. The more skilled you are, the more comfortable you'll be. The more comfortable you are, the more competent you'll be. Competence is inversely related to fear, and the less fear you have, the fewer fears you'll pack. This loadout is very specifically designed, primarily a 2 to 4 day loadout for overnight, high mileage, high speed hiking. But with just a couple of additions, it becomes what the prepper crowd refers to as a get home bag. In hiking and camping configuration, it comes in at 15.5 pounds. When in get home bag mode, it's 17.6 pounds. Many of the items are multifunctional and can be used in such a way as to greatly extend their operational ranges or what might seem like their initial limitations. Alright, let's get back to the pack. You have to have a thing to carry other things, so starting there seems like a good idea. By my estimation, there are a few features that a pack for this purpose needs to have. It needs to be as small as possible. It must be light and carry well. One thing that get-home bags typically fail to consider, though, is weight or appearance. It should be subdued, and by this I do not mean camouflaged or tactical. It should have a minimum of pockets, zippers, and webbing. The pack should be well made and durable, and it should not be cost prohibitive. All too frequently, they'll use unnecessarily heavy materials, absurd amount of pockets, and have poor ergonomics, which makes for a difficult to use, uncomfortable, and cumbersome pack. This is a Camelbak Rim Runner 22, and as the name implies, it's a 22-liter pack. It's designed to be used when covering a lot of ground in little time. Don't be fooled by its day pack size, because it will comfortably carry the entire loadout with a little extra room to spare. It isn't perfect, no pack is, but it's about as close as I've found for this application. I'm sure there are other options, but I've yet to find another one that meets all my criteria quite as well as this does. There's bags in bags. Let's talk about the bags that go in the bags. The way I pack my backpack gives more structure, keeps it thinner, and ensures the weight is as close to my back as possible. Stop shoving stuff in stuff sacks. The pack isn't waterproof, so I keep my gear stored in other bags inside the bag. It protects them from damage and from getting soaked. I use two different styles of bags. One is a luggage compression bag, and the other is a medium EXPED Schnozzle. The former is for my shelter, the latter is for my sleep system, and also doubles as a backup for another piece of gear. These weigh in at 2.5 ounces or 100 grams. One quick note is that you'll see I use Mylar ESD bags extensively. They're much more durable than Ziploc bags, and I've found them to be more waterproof. My sleeping gear needed to be small to fit in this pack, but warm enough to be useful. This is really designed as a summer loadout, but can be used as a sub-freezing loadout if you use these items differently. I use the Horizon Hound GR20 down blanket. This has kept me plenty warm down to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 4.4 degrees Celsius, and I'm a fairly cold sleeper. It also covers all 6 feet of me quite well. I've added a couple of straps to help it hold around my sleeping pad. This blanket also features some snaps to allow you to make a rudimentary foot box, or more importantly, it'll allow you to wear it as a warm poncho. It compresses well and is just a hint over a pound or 0.5 kilograms. This sleeping pad is an AIRRAIL Plus. It's a 3.3 R value self-inflating pad. Well, it says it's self-inflating, it really isn't. I bought this because it was quiet. The rails keep me from rolling off, as it's a bit narrower than my other pads, and because it has a pretty good R value. I don't think they're selling these anymore, and I'm not sure it really matters what you use. The reason I used an inflatable pad here is that it can store inside the pack, which is less conspicuous and easier to carry. This isn't the lightest pad, but it's proven durable and comfortable in a wide range of temperatures. It also works very well in a hammock. This is 1.7 ounces or 0.8 kilograms. Pillows are a good thing. I wanted this loadout to be truly comfortable, and I've yet to find a pillow that's nearly as comfortable or light as my Nemo Fillo. It's 0.2 ounces, which is about 90 grams. It tucks well into a sleeping bag hood. The shape is concave, which helps you from rolling off of it, and you can control the firmness. While it is expensive for what it is, in my opinion, this is one of those items that really helps with a good night's sleep, and that is worth every penny. In the eternal words of one Mick Jagger, give me shelter. Here's my shelter system, and it's all sold by 6 Moon Designs, a small US company which seems to employ a merry band of displaced hippies. I'm good with that, stay granola my friends. Anyway, this is a trekking pole tent, so it doesn't have a specific pole kit, but it does require either a dedicated pole for the shelter or the employment of a trekking pole. I bought their carbon fiber 49-inch pole purely for convenience, and it makes life a little easier since I don't have to tie off the top of this tent or worry about having to find a stick that'll work in place of the pole. Both are viable options depending on terrain. I'd normally take the trekking poles if I went hiking, but probably not something I'd keep in my vehicle, so it might not be on hand when I need to use it as a get-home bag. While I absolutely recommend these shelters, know that they are more expensive than cheap Walmart solutions, but less than top-tier brands. I encourage you to visit their site around the holidays, as they often have sales that'll save you a significant amount of money. One thing to know about a trekking pole tent. is that to have any structure, it needs to be staked out. I'm currently using titanium shepherd hook style stakes because they're light, they're multifunctional, and they can bend and be bent back as needed. They wouldn't work well in frozen ground though, so I keep an alternative set of aluminum Y stakes available. The mini groundhogs by MSR seem to be the default here, but I found that they're no stronger than other similarly designed stakes for less money. Do what you will with this information. The kit has 8 stakes in either configuration to allow me the primary stake requirements plus the head and foot guy out points to give me a little more room inside. I use Go line, which is a blend of Dyneema for strength and lightweight, as well as polyester so it will hold a knot. Dyneema tends to be slippery. And there's some reflective tape woven into this stuff as well. It packs up super small, is super light, and doesn't stretch to any great degree. The titanium kit weighs just under 2 ounces or 55 grams, and the aluminum option comes in at 5.5 ounces or 156 grams. Here's my cook kit. It's a straightforward affair. It's a Toaks 750 milliliter pot, a slightly modified EXPED pot kit wind block stand, hot lips, a Bic lighter, a little piece of sponge with a scrubby side, and a jet boil spoon. I usually keep some instant coffee, a little powdered milk, and some brown sugar in here as well. For fuel's sake, I take 4 EXPED tablets with me. The kit, in the bag, minus the coffee and fuel, comes to 5.2 ounces or 147 grams. The wind block allows me to use alcohol stoves, biofuel, or of course the solid fuel tablets, and I like the versatility. Why solid fuel? With the solid fuel, I don't have to carry a large container for fuel that I'm stuck dragging around when I'm done with it. The fuel isn't affected by cold, altitude, or damp. It's very quiet, unlike an isobutane stove, and it's also capable of being a long-burning fire starter if needed. This isn't the route I'd go all the time, and a 4-ounce isobutane fuel canister or an alcohol stove fit very well inside this system, giving me some options. But for this dual-purpose loadout, I find the EXPED system to be the most reliable and versatile, while taking up the least amount of space and weight. I included 2 dehydrated meals, 4 packs of peanut butter, 4 honey granola bars, and 1 pack of honey stinger chews. The dehydrated meals are for morale at the end of the day and can be broken into 2 meals each. The granola bars and honey are something I'll eat and enjoy, and are a calorie-dense option while providing some decent nutrition. The stingers are for when I might need quick energy and I'm very run down. Water. Normally, I'm more fond of carrying a HydroPack bladder. However, in this case, I find the extra space afforded by using the 1-liter water bottle is helpful. It makes the pack fit a little better with this loadout. The smart water bottle option is lighter, though less convenient overall. However, like the trekking poles, it's unlikely I'd have the bladder with me in my vehicle, but I do carry water all the time, so I'm packed for the worst case scenario. I use some lightweight gloves for abrasion and blister resistance. Any brand will do. Small damage to your hands can cause big trouble later, and if you're in a situation where you're having to navigate over obstacles in your get-home scenario, this will keep you a lot safer. Even though this loadout was originally intended to be a summer bag, the temperature swings so wildly here in Colorado, especially when you're at altitude, that it's always a good idea to pack a puffy jacket. The Decathlon 4 Class Trek 100, which weighs in at 11.1 ounces or 315 grams, is an absolutely outstanding buy. It's an incredibly warm and packable jacket. Its normal price is a very reasonable $80. I highly recommend them. For spare clothes, just a change of skivvies and socks. Nothing special there. I carry a smart wool beanie which has a surprising amount of thermal protection in a very thin, light package. It's small enough that it can fit under another hat to further increase your insulation. This is a lightweight, nondescript buff I picked up at Walmart. I guess it's actually a hair scrunchie thing that came in a set of 3 or 4 for under $5. They're light, but provide good thermal protection when scrunched down over your neck, or a cooling effect when doused with water and worn the same way. You can also use these to pull up over your face to mitigate dust and smoke, or even help hide your face since you can see through it when stretched tight. This weighs nearly nothing, and like the beanie, compresses down to nearly nothing. Electronics. I carry a 2022 version of the Nightcore 25UL, which weighs in at just 1.6 ounces or 46 grams. It has the obligatory red light function and also an ultra low setting, which is more than enough for seeing around camp without destroying your night vision. Why do I mention this as a 2022? Because this newest version features a USB-C recharge port, and this makes it convenient for me since everything else I have is also USB-C. If I know I'm only going to go out for a day, I'll opt for a smaller battery bank. But for this loadout, I chose this larger solar battery bank so it'd stay topped off and be less affected by the cold. I use a little USB-A to USB-C double-ended charger so I can charge 2 devices at once. I also carry a small USB-C to Garmin adapter to keep my Garmin Instinct 2 topped off. Hygiene and first aid. I carry a toilet paper and wet wipe pack for sanitation. This comes in at just under 2 ounces or 49 grams. In addition, I've got a small basic first aid kit that comes with some salves, pain relief, and bandages. The basis of this was a little surprisingly well-equipped kit from Walmart that sells for about $12. The only reason I repackaged it was the original pack wasn't waterproof. You'll want to add a few things to it. The whole kit weighs just 3.2 ounces or 92 grams. Some folks call it the Ditty Bag. I refer to it as the junk drawer. I've got a bunch of random stuff in here. I've got a wire saw, a knife sharpener, a toothbrush and some toothpaste tablets, a pencil sharpener, a notebook, a mechanical pencil. I know, why a sharpener if I've got a mechanical pencil, right? Well, this lets me sharpen up small sticks to use as stakes and spears or gigs as needed. It also produces excellent tinder without the risk of a knife slipping and causing injury. All this comes to about 3 ounces or 87 grams. These are Hot Hands 18-hour version hand warmers. I put these in some thin koozies to protect the shell of my down sleeping bags and blankets from the peak temperatures of these hot hands, which can damage them. They make them far more comfortable to place up against your body as well. I carry 2 of these in this loadout. If needed, one in the footbox area, and if much colder, I can put one between my legs since this is a prime location for a lot of blood flow. It'll keep you quite warm. This kit comes in at 4 ounces or 114 grams. I don't carry bear spray. I'm not convinced I could deploy it before a bear got to me. That stuff was designed to stop a bear, and I'm thinking that a whiff of that wouldn't be good for a person, especially one who's already being attacked by a bear. I do carry some palm gel spray, which would hopefully have a similar effect if I get lucky enough to deploy it without the risk of blowing back at me like a bear fogger might. These weigh in at 1 ounce or 32 grams, which is much lighter than a bear spray and very small. I carry a Katydyn water filter bag and syringe to backflush it. I keep the filter itself in its own bag to prevent cross-contamination as well as making it less likely to get me wet if I have to tuck it in my sleep system in freezing weather. Nobody wants that. This and the Mylar bags come in at 3.6 ounces or 103 grams. Tools. I carry 2 microfiber towels, a larger one and a smaller one for my optics. These are just under an ounce or 24 grams. I also carry a mini multi-tool with pliers and the normal accessories. When you need pliers, you need pliers. Nothing else will do. This is 2.8 ounces or 78 grams. I picked up this Tasco monocular not long ago. It's a cheap $10 optic I found at Walmart. It's great to be able to get a little closer look at something you're interested in or to see what things might be lurking ahead with much greater clarity. At 3.3 ounces or 95 grams, I have a hard time not justifying taking this with me. It isn't what I'd call a quality optic, but it's plenty good for my casual needs, and in an emergency, it can also be used as a fire starter. This is my ultimate luxury item. This is the Yuko candle lantern, and it's genuinely useful. provides light and isn't easily blown out. It provides a bit of warmth and is a huge morale booster. It eats condensation. Just be careful about keeping it far enough away from the shelter's fabric. The flame's enclosed, so the risk of serious fire is low, but not zero. This also does a good job of filling that primal need for a campfire. I know, it sounds absurd on its face, but it's true. Early on, or perhaps led by the title, you realize that this was also the potential for a get-home bag. There are 3 things I'd add. They're not necessary, but they could go a long way to saving your life. The first is a breaching tool, often called demolition tools. I like this Stanley Fat Max 10-inch. It not only works as a means to pop open doors if needed, but also as a pry bar, a hammering tool, and a melee tool. I would not want to be on the receiving end of one of these. Communications. Being informed is critical. I highly recommend this particular setup for a few different reasons. The first is that it's cheap, so it's very easily accessible to just about anyone. The second is that it can be unlocked simply by pushing 3 buttons at once and turning it on. This lets you transmit and receive on a much wider spectrum than any one radio typically will, meaning you get 3 or 4 radios in one very cheap package. I haven't seen a kit yet that didn't include an earpiece, but make sure you do get one so you can keep your comms quiet. While the stock kit is adequate and will only set you back about $21 on Amazon, opt for a kit that has a whip antenna, a 3800 mAh battery, and a USB charging cord if possible. The final reason is that you can tune in NOAA weather stations, local governments, as well as radio stations. Though with the lighter stock battery instead of this larger 3800 mAh one. This lets me monitor weather without too much of a weight and space penalty. All told, with the heaviest options, this comes in at 39.6 ounces or 1.1 kilogram. The final bit of kit will depend on whether or not you're a carrier. If so, you'll find that access to your tool will be hindered by your hip belts. And given how useful hip belts are, you may find that this is a good option. This is the Alien Gear backpack holster. It can be moved around to various points on the body or pack. It is not perfect, but it is a good solution. The strap clip and holster can easily be separated with the push of a plunger and moved into a pocket or pack very quickly, leaving no hint of its original function, which helps maintain an unassuming profile. This sells for around $63 and weighs in at 5.9 ounces or 168 grams.
Well, this may shock some of you, but that's it. I sure hope you found this useful and gives you a few things to consider for your own loadout.
And this concludes another entry in the Wanderlust Journal. Now signing off with the National Anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good night, and may God bless America.